It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10. Our top story. 14 children arrested on suspicion of manslaughter after the death of a boy in a fire in Gateshead. More apologies from Kemi Badenoch and promises of delivery from Sir Keir Starmer as Nigel Farage insists Thursday's election ended two-party British politics forever. The royal family focuses on VE Day preparations amid the furore over Prince Harry's bombshell interview. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese suggests his country has rejected Trump-style politics after he's re-elected in a landslide.
We are proud of who we are and all that we have built together in this country. We do not need to beg or borrow or copy from anywhere else.
Marks & Spencer insiders tell Sky News disruption from the cyber attack on its systems could be far from over. And an incredible story of survival. 5 people are rescued from a plane wreckage where they'd been surrounded by alligators deep in the Amazon. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30. Good evening. We begin with the breaking news tonight that 14 children have been arrested over the death of a boy in a fire. Northumbria police say the fire broke out near an industrial park in Gateshead last night. Sky correspondent Emma Birchley joins me now from the newsroom. And Emma, what more do we know?
Well, the emergency services were called just after 8 o'clock on Friday evening, and it didn't take long for the firefighters to put that blaze out. This is near the Fairfield Industrial Park in the Bill Key area of Gateshead. Now, later in the evening, police put out an appeal for a missing 14-year-old boy called Leighton Carr. And now an update that, very sadly, the body of a boy has been found within the industrial unit. It's believed to be Leighton. His family has been informed. They are being supported by specialist officers. And then that news that 14 children have been taken into custody, questioned on suspicion of manslaughter. They're aged just between 11 and 14. 11 of them are boys, 3 of them a girl. Now, there has been a statement from Northumbria Police. It says this is an extremely tragic incident where a boy has sadly lost his life, and our thoughts remain with Leighton's family as they begin to attempt to process the loss of their loved ones. Now, police are very keen to say that this is a very early stage in the inquiry. A cordon remains in place, and the public are being urged not to speculate either within the community or online. And right now, the family of a 14-year-old boy are in mourning.
Indeed. Emma, thank you. Labour and the Conservatives are grappling with a political map redrawn by Reform UK's big wins in Thursday's election. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, insists he hears voters' anger, while there were more apologies to Tories from leader Kemi Badenoch. Nigel Farage says the two-party system is over. But a long-time third force in politics, the Lib Dems, claim they're stronger than ever. Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, reports.
After hitting the Tories for 6 in the Shires, gaining more than 160 councillors, Sir Ed Davey declared that his Liberal Democrats are now the party of Middle England.
We're the ones holding the government to account on things like the winter fuel payment, on the family farmers tax, on the rise in employers' national insurance.
The biggest winner, Nigel Farage, whose Reform UK gained 650 councillors and 2 mayors, narrowly defeated Labour in a by-election, claimed it was the end of the two-party system.
We are not a protest party. We are people from all ages, all walks of life, all religions, all backgrounds, but all British.
For the losers, there's now an inquest and a backlash. Sir Keir Starmer said Labour hears voters' anger, and Kemi Badenoch apologised for the Tory bloodbath. In the Labour blame game, local government leaders claim voters are not feeling the benefits of the Starmer government.
This government needs to deliver for places like this, one of the poorest places in the country, and make sure people can see what all the pain has been for.
In Doncaster, voters say they are feeling that pain.
I know there's been a lot of uproar on the winter fuel, quite rightly so.
He shot himself in foot when he hit the pensioners. When they first come into power, they hit the pensioners. That was the first thing they did.
My dad's a pensioner and they've cut everything of his.
Among defeated Tories, there's already talk of mutiny and changing leader.
I think invariably, if there is no material uplift in our fortunes, one has to reasonably look at who is delivering the renewal message.
Kemi Badenoch launched her campaign in Buckinghamshire, a Conservative council since 1973. But now they've lost their majority.
What you tended to find was a lot of people who've traditionally voted Conservative were looking to vote Reform. Reform have, to some extent, cannibalised our vote.
The dramatic impact of what Nigel Farage calls a reform quake will be brought home to MPs when the Runcorn and Helsby by-election winner, Sarah Pochin, takes her seat in the Commons after the bank holiday. For Labour and the Conservatives, it'll be a painful wake-up call.
Lib Dems up, Conservatives down!
But for the winners, while there's much to celebrate, there's even more to deliver. John Craig, Sky News.
And John Craig's outside the House of Parliament for us now. John, I'm reading coming up in the Sunday Telegraph, Nigel Farage has much more to say, including that nothing will ever be the same again in British politics.
Writing in the Sunday Telegraph, Mr Farage has said that the Tories are in retreat as reform marches on. Yes, what he has written is this: nothing will ever be the same again. Two-party politics at both local and national level is over. The system that dominated in this country for a century died on Thursday. It will never return, Mr Farage has written after that very narrow victory in the by-election and, of course, big gains in local government and picking up a couple of mayoralties. He's disappointed. He says that he didn't win a few more of those mayoral elections. We've heard also from Sarah Pochin, the candidate who won by 6 votes in Runcorn and Helsby. She's told the Sunday Telegraph in an interview that she wants to stand up for victims of sexual violence by illegal immigrants. Well, on the Labour side of the Commons, meanwhile, the backlash is growing stronger all the time. Criticism of the Prime Minister over the winter fuel payments and other policies. Emma Lewell, South Shields MP, has said in an article in the Sunday Mirror that Labour doesn't need a plan for change, it needs to change the plan. And Clive Efford, a veteran Tory from the London, Labour MP from the London suburbs, has said the current policy is madness. Now, in the Sky News Beth Rigby's Electoral Dysfunction podcast, Harriet Harman has accused some Labour MPs of wobbling, and she's also predicting a tougher line in future on immigration to counter the Reform UK threat. She says that we'll have to, all eyes will be on Yvette Cooper and to see what she does on immigration. There will be those who say that is the wrong course, that Labour faces other attacks from Liberal Democrats and the Green Party. But it looks as though there is going to be a move to toughen up immigration policy. A white paper is on the way. But, of course, the Prime Minister is saying that Labour will deliver. But it's what they're delivering that is worrying many of Labour's backbenchers.
John, thank you very much. Prince Harry has been criticised for adding to speculation about the King's health after saying he doesn't know how much longer his father has left. In an interview with BBC News after losing a legal challenge over his security in the UK, the Duke of Sussex said he wants a reconciliation with the royal family, but claims the King won't speak to him. A warning: this report from our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills does contain some flash photography.
It's 5 years since they stepped away from all this, and yet the repercussions continue to hit the royal family hard. Losing his latest court battle was always going to hurt, but no one would have expected a response this raw.
There have been so many disagreements, differences between me and some of my family. This current situation that has been ongoing for 5 years with regard to human life and safety is the sticking point. It is the only thing that's left. Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Of course, they will never forgive me for lots of things. But, you know, there is... I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile.
And it's not just personal, it's been a point of principle against the Home Office. Prince Harry wanting to call out what he's seen as unfair treatment from the Royal and VIP Executive Committee and members of the royal household who sit on it. Sir Clive Alderton, the King's private secretary, one man Harry clearly believes has been obstructive. However, sources point to the fact he wasn't on the RAVEC board in 2020, and while he is now, purely plays an advisory role. But if Harry can pay for his own security, why does he need help from the Home Office?
It seems to me that Prince Harry feels that he isn't getting the same level and degree of intelligence information he was getting as a working member of the royal family. That seems to be the sticking point. RAVEC say that he will, in certain circumstances, when he comes back to do official visits, but he obviously feels he isn't getting that. And because most of his protection team are no longer serving police officers, maybe there's a sense of feeling of that amongst them as well.
His interview has confirmed just how much their decision to leave the UK continues to split public opinion. Some regarding the interview as a low blow against the King. For others who see the palace as outdated, it's more ammunition.
It seems that the ball is in Charles's court. The question about reconciliation, about whether they want to meet up again, that is all about what Charles is doing. Harry said, the King is not speaking to me, my father's not speaking to me because of the security issue. So I think really what he's saying is he's saying, you know, it's in your court now, Charles. You make the comeback.
People in Windsor, where Harry and Meghan once had their UK family home, were divided on Harry's latest intervention.
It's a great contradiction, isn't it, the way he's behaved towards the family. I mean, any ordinary family member publish a book and slate everybody. They would be out in the cold as well, wouldn't they?
He's had ample opportunities, I feel, to make things right, and I think he's used himself a bit of a victim.
Families need to practice forgiveness, and you can't have reconciliation if you don't have forgiveness. And to think that he is in the United States with his lovely wife and children and can't come see family because there's no safety and protection is just unacceptable.
The coronation was the last time we saw Harry with his family in public. His latest claims an unwelcome distraction as his father tries to focus on what will be the second anniversary this week, with these new artworks due to go on display. But I'm also told that VE Day events are the real priority for the royals this week. Preparations well underway for when they'll come together as a family to celebrate what they see as true service, duty and loyalty. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News.
Australia's Labour Party is celebrating after a landslide election victory. And in something of a rarity in recent Australian politics, it means one Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, has won 2 elections in a row. Speaking to cheering supporters, he suggested success was helped by avoiding Trump-style politics, which his Conservative opponent, Peter Dutton, appeared to embrace. Mr Dutton lost not only the election, but his seat in Parliament too. A warning, Emma Birchley's report does contain some flash photography.
It was a vote for continuity at a time of global uncertainty. Anthony Albanese clinching a second consecutive 3-year term as Australian Prime Minister. the first to do so in 21 years.
My fellow Australians, Australians have chosen the Australian Labor Party as their government. We do not need to beg or borrow or copy from anywhere else. We do not seek our inspiration overseas.
Voters headed to the polls amidst a cost of living crisis, with inflation and energy policy key issues, as well as concern about the impact of Donald Trump's tariffs.
The cost of living is obviously a huge thing that's on everyone's mind at the moment.
Climate activism would be on top of my list.
For me, it's having vision and thinking about the future of our younger Australians.
It wasn't long before the Conservative rival to Albanese's centre-left Labour Party had conceded defeat. Peter Dutton losing his own parliamentary seat in the process after 24 years in the role.
We didn't do well enough during this campaign, that much is obvious tonight, and I accept full responsibility for that. Earlier on, I called the Prime Minister to congratulate him on his success tonight.
He'd been branded Dodgy Dutton, a play on the acronym for Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, after initially pledging to axe more than 1 in 5 public sector jobs. And this was not the first election to be impacted by the US president's words and actions. The former governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, voted in as Canada's Prime Minister. His strong stance against Trump's tariffs and threats to turn the country into the 51st US state, winning him public support. In Australia, Anthony Albanese pledged to begin the hard work tomorrow. But the experts weren't waiting until then to discuss exactly what that might mean for the country he'll lead once more. Emma Birchley, Sky News.
Marks and Spencer insiders have told Sky News that the cyber attacks on its systems could cause disruption for months. The chain is just one of the British high street retailers hit over the past fortnight. The Co-op has apologised after hackers accessed and took customer information. Our data and forensics correspondent Tom Cheshire reports.
Hackers are holding British retailers to ransom. And M&S insiders have told us the disruption, which has stopped online sales, could go on for months.
Real-world stores are operating more or less as normal. They're certainly getting a lot of people through the door here. But online and then behind the scenes, it's a different story.
An employee at M&S head office spoke to us on condition of anonymity.
It's just been pure chaos. We didn't have any business continuity plan. We didn't have a cyber attack plan. So we're kind of figuring it out as we go.
And is there any sense that it's getting better, that it's going to be fixed soon?
It's going to take a while.
How long is a while?
Probably a few months. The idea is to have some services going back online bit by bit.
The Co-op has also been attacked. Its CEO last night said hackers were able to access members' data, including names, dates of birth and contact details, but not their financial information. It seems like the hackers are making merry and getting away with it so far. But who are they? There are all sorts of weird and wonderful names flying around. Scatterswine, Muddled Libra, Octo Tempest, Dragon Force. So it's helpful to break things down. First, Dragon Force. This is a group that locks people's and organisations' data and charges a ransom for it. They do hacking themselves, but they also offer their software to others. Enter Scattered Spider, the term used by cybersecurity experts. And the emphasis is on the scattered. This is not a tight-knit, centralised group. Instead, it's a dynamic collective that might change membership for different campaigns, most of it drawn from a loosely connected criminal ecosystem known as the COM. Unusually, though, they seem to be native English speakers. Most groups operating in this space are Russian, North Korean, Chinese, or other nationalities. But that also means law enforcement has had more success in tracking them down. Arrests linked to Scattered Spider have been made in the US, in Spain, and even here in the UK, in the West Midlands.
What is particularly troubling about these incidents is that it's people whose apparent hobby it is to cause disruption, and that's a reminder to all of us to be prepared for disruption, because these men and women are not going to give up.
As online businesses continue to struggle, there's something to be said for the old-fashioned way, much harder to hack. Tom Cheshire, Sky News, West London.
Sky News has obtained exclusive audio from a surviving paramedic in Gaza, capturing the moments after an Israeli military attack that killed 15 aid workers. It happened in late March near Rafah. Asad al-Nasra had been missing since the attack, though his body was not amongst the dead. Then 3 weeks ago, Israel confirmed he was alive and in detention. He was released earlier this week. Sky special correspondent Alex Crawford reports.
This is Asad al-Nasra, his relief clear to see as he's reunited with his family. The Palestinian paramedic embracing his father after surviving an attack that saw 15 fellow emergency workers killed. His children also desperately relieved to see him alive after 5 weeks in Israeli detention. He was one of just 2 survivors, but he hasn't spoken publicly yet, and mystery still surrounds what actually happened to him.
There are multiple questions which the IDF still has to answer. Why was Assad arrested in the first place? Why was he held for so long? And what happened to him during that time?
But clues are beginning to emerge, including new audio we've exclusively obtained, which documents a call that Assad made to the Red Crescent dispatch centre during the attack.
It adds to the body of visual and audio evidence that we're collating to find out exactly what happened that morning.
Assad was driving in an ambulance with his colleague Rifat Radwan, who filmed this video on the morning of March 23rd. They'd been dispatched to find their colleagues who'd gone missing after an earlier Israeli attack. You can hear his voice as he spots the missing emergency vehicle. The timeline we've pieced together shows the attack begins at 5:08 a.m. and gunfire can be heard for more than 5 minutes.
We've obtained a recording of a call that Assad made to the Red Crescent dispatch centre at 6:55 a.m. At this point, it's clear Assad is being held by the Israelis. We can hear their voices discussing the prisoners and shouting at them. 2 minutes into the audio, we can hear a more senior figure addressing soldiers by name. It's clear there's a chain of command here. And in earshot of the prisoners, the soldiers are being given their orders.
A military expert familiar with the IDF told us that this sounded like a formal command by a superior, and the word battery was referring to a firing position occupied by soldiers. In our interview with the only other survivor, the Red Crescent medic Munza Abed, he describes his arrest alongside Assad.
الوحيد اللي شفته أسعد النصاص يعني كان جاي مع الضابط واعتقله وحطه جنبي. أسعد آخر لحظة شفته فيها كانوا مغميين عينيه ومقعدينه ومربطين إيديه من ورا طبعا.
After an internal IDF investigation, the deputy commander of the IDF unit which carried out the shootings was dismissed, and another was reprimanded. No charges have been brought against anyone involved.
Now he's been released, there are multiple questions about Assad's detention to add to the growing disquiet about the IDF's conduct. First, what were the IDF grounds for suspicion about the paramedic? What happened to Assad during his 5 weeks of detention, and why was he held for so long without charge? Our investigations are still ongoing to get to the whole truth of one of the bloodiest Israeli attacks ever against paramedics in Gaza. Well, the IDF has given us this statement in response to the story. They say the individual was detained based on intelligence, indicating involvement in terrorist activity. During his detention, he was questioned and held under a temporary custody order. It goes on to say at the conclusion of the questioning, and based on the information gathered, it was decided not to issue a permanent detention order and he was released. The IDF operates in accordance with the law.
Time now to get the very latest sports news with Rahul.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
It strikes me that it's changed an awful lot even in the last 10 or 15 years. It wasn't very long ago we had yourself, we had Sam Allardyce, Alan Pardew, Steve McLaren, Steve Bruce, Harry Redknapp, all of you competing amongst each other in the top division. And that was a decade and a half ago. It wasn't that long ago.
No.
So that seemed a heck of a change so quickly, doesn't it?
Well, you're talking about people pretty much the same sort of age as well, of course. You know, maybe that was a generation, wasn't it, you're talking of? You know, we were probably at quite an important part of our careers in that period, and after, with quite a long CV and a lot of clubs behind that we can refer to, which would suggest we can do this job. I mean, now, of course, you know, the focus is often on the younger coach, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's a young person's game, so I don't complain about that at all. But as a result, of course, when they're looking for a younger coach, these clubs, often they probably think they're going to find him abroad. The Premier League is becoming a force to itself. I mean, the amount of money, it reminds me of Italy when I was there, because Italy was a place where all the players were being attracted to and where the big money was. So there's been an enormous change. So that's where the Premier League is today. So any job that comes up in the Premier League is not going to be, well, here's a list of Englishmen who might be interested in the job or who might be candidates. You go out, well, who's at Bayern Munich at the moment? Who's at Barcelona? Who's at Real Madrid? Who's at PSG? Why don't we get one of those? Because you know that they can actually be attracted to the job, because the job is extremely well paid, and you're playing in a league which is, in most people's view, at least all English people's view, one of the best leagues in the world.
The Italian one is probably more tactical, defensive side. Spanish is more quality, more technique. And England is everything. It's physicality, it's strong, it's quality, it's all the best manager like Carlo Ancelotti, Pep, Klopp, the best manager in this moment in the world. They were all here in England. It's the toughest one for sure.
It is the league that everyone wants to be coach in. Pick one league, everyone will say, I want to coach in the Premier League if possible. It is extremely difficult. I think the level of coaching in the Premier League is insane. From every team. If you look at the details and the tactical level, I think is extremely high.
If you look at the opposition every week that you're facing, the quality, it's huge. Also of the coaches and the managers, how they can tweak things within the game, and you have to react to it. Those levels are world class.
The Premier League has long been a home for elite managers from right across the world. But in terms of English managerial representation abroad...
Sky Business sponsors this report.
It's the stuff of nightmares or an action thriller. After their plane crashed in the dense Bolivian Amazon, 5 people spent 36 hours huddled on the wreckage in a swamp, surrounded by alligators. But as in the best films, there was a happy ending. Sadia Chowdhury reports.
Wheels facing up, submerged in water and surrounded by alligators. The smallest slither of the aircraft's underbelly, the only comfort for its passengers. It is here they balanced for 36 hours, waiting to be rescued. The pilot said engine failure led to a crash landing in a predator-infested swamp. He said, the alligators, that's their habitat and nothing goes in it. Huge alligators and their size. They were 3 to 4 meters. We didn't sleep at all. I still had a phone because the others lost theirs underwater. So with my flashlight, I kept illuminating the alligators because they were around us. But thanks to the gasoline contaminating the water and its smell, they didn't get to us. They stayed 3 to 4 meters away from us and stayed there all day and night, but never got to us. The survivors' ordeal is evident on their faces in this photograph taken just moments after the rescue. 3 women, a child, and their pilot. His mother described her anguish.
I just want to see him. It was nights without sleep.
days without sleep, and time that came to a stop.
Their journey had started on Thursday in Baures in northern Bolivia. The plane was on its way to the city of Trinidad before losing signal over El Beni, the country's lowlands region. It is the second least populated area and required careful coordination to plan the rescue.
In some moments, many theories were handled. There was a lot of speculation about the case. I'm really happy because in the end, all the institutions joined together to be able to find the missing people and save those lives that now receive the attention they need. Being with their families is important.
Bolivia's civil defense said the survivors are in good health and being treated by doctors. Perhaps they are also glad to be back on dry land. Sadia Chowdhury, Sky News.
Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview, and it's World Press Freedom Day. So to mark the occasion, we're joined tonight by Executive Director of the Rory Peck Trust, John Williams, and journalist and President of Murray Edwards College at Cambridge University, Dorothy Byrne. Amongst the stories we'll be discussing, this on the front of the Mail, their headline, Harry, now the backlash grows. We'll be right back. Do stay with us.